Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny and Brendan Monk from Relentless and Unstoppable, and today we have the director of The Big Green and one of the main cast members with us. Hey, how you doing?
Well,
Hello.
hello.
Welcome,
Hello.
Steve. Welcome, Holly.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. So yeah, it's been many years since The Big Green came out, hasn't it? And it looks like you haven't changed much, Steve.
Well, I have changed my clothes, so I had to. The jacket's not the same. No, I tell you, I'm doing a play, so I've got to get back to rehearsal in a little while. But the first thing I want to say is that working with Holly was just like a dream. Holly is really low key. She keeps a really steady hand on the atmosphere and makes it really warm and funny and creative. So that makes it really easy. And there was everybody around Holly were friends of hers, so that made it even nicer. And it was a wonderful story. And the great thing about Holly directing is that she wrote it, so you have, if something's not working, you have the person who created it that puts it right together. But really, it was just so nice to go to work every day and be around Holly. And that, not only is Holly really a sweet person, but Holly's really smart and well read and well versed. And so, anyway, it was a great experience for me. So, thanks for the. I guess my makeup looks good today. So.
Yeah,
I'm going to jump in to say this. I'm the first woman to direct a live action film for the Walt Disney Company. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm one of the very few women to direct a sports movie. And I had a great experience. We filmed in Austin, Texas, and the experience would not have been anything without Steve, because everything he brought to it, all the experience he had, he's a great physical comic, and yet he can also do serious work. The movie is a sports film, but really the movie is about immigration. It's about acceptance. It's about difference. And I kind of was trying to hide all that in a traditional sports movie. So the character that Steve played is a small town sheriff, and he comes to accept change. And we shot in Texas. The film was not overtly political. It was subtly political. So I was not at the time really, no one ever said don't talk about that, but I really wasn't given an opportunity to talk about that. And so I appreciate we're having a podcast now, because the movie is in some ways beloved by fans. I go to schools all the time because now I'm a novelist, and it always comes up. It always comes up how much people like it, how much they love Steve, how much they loved Olivia, and the kids. They loved the kids, a very diverse group of kids. And that was all scripted and on purpose. And it's supposed to be about what we are as a country and a community. It takes a lot of people to come together to make America great. That's my opinion. So anyway.
So Holly, what was it like, and how did you get your role in The Big Green?
My role as the writer-director?
Yeah, the role as the writer and director, yeah.
Well, I had done the movie Angels in the Outfield, and it was very successful. That movie was a sports film, and Joe Roth was the head of the studio. He was very supportive of me, and he let me also be a producer on the film. And when the movie was finished, he asked me what I wanted to do next. And I said I would write another movie for him. But I asked him in the meeting, I'll write another film if you let me direct it this time, not just be on the sidelines. And I have to say, he didn't even really blink. He said, so you want to do another sports movie? And I said, yes. And then he said, you want to direct it? And I said, yes. And he just looked at me and went, I think we can make it happen. I think so. And I read a lot of people. I thought of a lot of people for the parts, and I picked Steve. He came in and met with me, and he's not overtly the character you would think of. He's from New York, and he's not a sheriff. But he's an actor. And so I picked him, and I was so thrilled then when we went with Ralph Boda, who was a Academy nominated cinematographer for Coal Miner's Daughter, and he shot Saturday Night Fever. We had some great people. We had a man named Phil Sloan, who was our key grip, and he had done Titanic. He came, I think, right from Titanic. Or he was just everyone we had was such a professional, and I think it shows in the film because the film's done, even though it was intended audience was for kids, it's all done at a pretty high level. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yeah. What was wonderful is, the film doesn't underestimate the audience.
Yeah.
And that really gives a great deal of credence to what we were doing, because it's a story about kids playing soccer. But as Holly said, it's much more than that. And you, by osmosis, get that while you're watching the movie. So I think that we were aiming high and we hit pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, we were given a budget of $10 million and we did 18 million domestically. Now, at the time, those are a lot of half-price tickets. There are a lot of kids in that $18 million figure. So you would really double it. But if you adjust for inflation, that's probably saying we did, I don't know, $40 million, but we sold 4.5, not to be too much of an analytic nerd about the box office, but we sold 4.5 million units of what at the time was called full freight video, which was a clamshell video. Clamshells were the white videos that came in a plastic shell. And they were called clamshells. And the reason they were in the thick white container versus the cardboard sleeve is because kids could open them and kids could close them and put them away. They were designed to be for young people. Well, we sold 4.5 million units of those clamshells. And at the time, they were $59.99. So you do the math. The movie is a quite profitable movie. And I mean, sadly, I think they don't make those kind of movies today, live action movies where they really hire people at the sort of middle of the movie business isn't there the way it used to be. And maybe television has taken part of that role. But we were fortunate. They sent us all to Austin, Texas, and we were all on location. They gave us rehearsal time. We remember that time, Steve, when we played soccer with the kids? When we went out onto this field and we played with the kids, and we all consider ourselves sort of athletic. And I remember the kids were so good. And and after maybe 10 minutes of us running, soccer is a very, very vigorous sport. And I remember running up and down this field. And after 10 minutes thinking I was just going to faint. And but we learned as much from the kids as we did from anyone else. And Steve was so great with them. He was constantly teaching them things, not just about acting, but about life. And we were there over Christmas, and he got all the kids and made them go with him to a hospital at Christmas and buy presents and give all those kids presents. He was constantly telling them, you're going to remember this experience for the rest of your life, and you are going to make something positive. Do you remember all that, Steve?
Sure. Oh yeah, that was that was a very moving experience going to the hospital, and all the kids were really terrific kids. The twins were great soccer players, right?
The twins were pretty good soccer players. I mean, Anthony was the best, and he plays kind of the star.
Right. Yeah.
And, well, they could all play. I mean, we except for Bug Hall, he was really more of an actor. He'd been in Our Gang, I think it was, and or Little Rascals. Was that? I can't remember. But he he's the youngest one, and he didn't really have to play. He was the only one that we took them all out onto a field and watched them play. And so some of them were actually cast more because they could play. So some of them came from Los Angeles and some of them were from Texas. And I would say by and large, the ones from Texas had less acting skills and more soccer skills. And we had a bunch of things happen. One of the actors, he broke his arm early on. I think we'd shot maybe a couple weeks, and he broke his arm not playing, but he broke his arm playing basketball and goofing around with the kids when they weren't playing. And then they had to come and tell me he broke his arm and ask me if I wanted to recast him.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. Hey, Brendan, do you have any questions for them?